What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the REVELSations podcast. It's your boy Rev. Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcast. Most importantly, share this with somebody who you think might benefit from his message. It really would help me out, help the channel grow, help get the message out of trying to make this world a better place, piece by piece, step by step. Today, we're going to talk about something that I think is very important, and that is responsibility and accountability and the difference between the two. So let's get to some dictionary definitions, as we always do on the REVELSations podcast. We'll get started. So the definition of responsible. Responsible means having an obligation to do something, a task, or having control or care over someone as part of one's job or role. The task that you are supposed to do. It could be a written task or it could be a moral task. As parents, you know you're supposed to, you are tasked with, it is your obligation, it is your responsibility to take care of your children, to provide a roof over their head, put clothes on their back, food on their table, to raise them to be a decent human being. These are your responsibilities. As a supervisor or a boss or a whatever you want to call it, it is your responsibility to lead your company in the way to not only have production, but lead your company in the best way possible so it can sustain over time and be a profitable business in the future and going forward. That is different than accountable and accountability. That is obligated to explain or justify and take responsibility for one's actions, meaning you are accountable to, or these are the people that you have to answer to. If you do or do not fulfill your responsibilities, these are the people that are going to feel the effects of either you completing your task or not completing your task. Let's go back to the original example that I use as a parent. As a parent, you are responsible for taking care of your children, roof over their head, clothes on their back, food on their table. If you fail in your responsibilities, you are accountable. You have to answer to. These are the people that are looking at you and saying, you failed in your responsibility. You owe me a roof over my head. You owe me clothes on my back. You owe me food on the table. If you're an employee, you owe your boss that report that he or she asked you to turn in. If you're a boss, you owe your employees the resources that so they can actually do their responsibilities and take their responsibilities. That is the accountable. You are accountable to somebody. So you're responsible for something, but you're accountable to people. And the highest form of accountability is when you're accountable to yourself. And we'll get to that in a moment. So there's a difference between accountability and responsibility. Again, the responsibility is task oriented, right? I have to do these things. Accountability is who I have to answer to. And I believe that if we want to be the highest level of ourselves, we will graduate from only responsibility to being accountable. From only responsibility to having accountability. Oftentimes, we see people that will even skirt or try to skip on the responsibility. I'm not responsible for that. That's not my job. That's not my task. I'm not supposed to do that. You're supposed to do that. Okay, that could be all well and good, and you might be right. But let's always hold ourselves to the standard of not only being responsible for our actions, but being accountable to everybody else that are depending on us to complete our task of our responsibility. Not only if we're parents, we could be brothers or sisters, we could be classmates, we could be teammates. People are depending on you, holding you accountable for the things that you said you would do. It is very important that we hold ourselves to our responsibilities, but it is equally as important that we hold ourselves to our accountabilities and know that if we fail in what we do, it can impact other people. As I said a moment ago, the greatest form of this is being accountable to ourselves. I do things, me, Rev, I'm speaking about me. I do things that if I fail at those things, they affect no one but me. They impact no one but me. We'll use something very like working out. I'm accountable to myself for going to the gym and keeping my body in shape. I believe it is my responsibility. I've told myself I'm responsible for keeping my body intact. I am. Nobody else is responsible. Nobody else is tasked with taking care of me. I'm the only one that can take care of me physically. I'm the only one that can take care of my body health-wise. Nobody else can do that for me. And if I don't, right, not being married, not having children, if I don't, I'm not accountable to anybody but myself. And that is the highest form. So even at work, when I am tasked with a job, that is my responsibility. Okay. I'm supposed to do A, B, and C. Yes, I'm accountable to those who pay me, but it is a greater level. It is a higher level. It is a more important level when I'm accountable to myself and say, you know what, even if that other person isn't disappointed in me or going to be disappointed in me, I'm going to be disappointed in myself if I do not fulfill my obligations and I do not complete my task or complete my responsibilities. Isn't that where we want to be? We want to get to the level to where we're not just doing things so others won't be disappointed in us, but we're doing things so that we won't be disappointed and failing ourselves. That is the higher level. We want to not only be responsible for doing something, we want to be accountable to ourselves. And accountable to ourselves is acting at the highest level we can act, regardless of who it impacts. Okay. So even if it's not wrong, perfect example, walking across the street, you got some trash, throwing your trash on the ground. No one's really going to see, right? But be accountable to yourself to maybe hold that trash and put it in the garbage can, right? You could do something as small as, lying to try to get benefits in some way, but holding yourself to the standard and saying, you know what? I'm going to be accountable for my actions. And even though this little white lie, as they say, might not really impact others, I'm not going to allow myself to stoop that low and not live up to that standard of being accountable and saying, you know what, I'm not the type of person that does that. That is where we are. We want to be super accountable for our actions to ourselves, not only to other people, because oftentimes when we only do things because of other people, we will end up failing. Because it is super hard to always do things for other people. It is better if we do those things for ourselves. Another example of working out. If you are working out because you're trying to please someone else, you're going to stop. But if you're working out and the responsibility of working out is because you're holding yourself accountable, you're going to stay on that task a little while longer. Don't get me wrong. Being accountable to others is important. Sometimes that can get you jump started. Sometimes that can get you going. But I believe to maintain greatness over time, you're going to need to be accountable to yourself and not just accountable to others. I know this because I've had accountability partners. People have asked me to be their accountability partners. And I'm like, sure, I can. But I always tell them, I will be your accountability partner for a short time. But if you are only trying to be accountable to me, you're never going to maintain your goal until you become accountable to yourself. What do you think about this? Write in, let me know. Are you only a responsible person, or do you like to be accountable? Do you only become accountable to others, or have you graduated to that point where you can be accountable to yourselves? Sorry, I stumbled over my words at the end, but again, this is a REVELSations podcast. I give it to you raw, give it to you off the top of my head, and we're gonna keep this thing rocking. I am because we are. Hallelujah, holla back. Peace.
Yeah, the revelations now televised. A platform for you and I, and now look with full heart and clear eyes. Now, these are just my thoughts. Truth on how I feel on these topics I reveal. Please know my toll, I always keep it real. Can't face the word if you can't face facts. For your time, just open up your mind. That's it, just live, think big, now take that. With God in me, this here was made by design. Yeah, the revelation will be televised. REVELSations.